Well, it's a beautiful day for us to look at the issues both on the local and international scene. Good morning. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda. We are here, myself, Robert Chirabonyonyintono, right in the middle, and of course, Julie F. Nantaba Mosisi is also with us today. And together, we get into the world of news and bring you the conversations that you need to listen to today to have a change of mind about a few things here and there. And one of those, we will be delving into a conversation on Uganda and its landscape and what it looks like by delving into the magazine Imagine Uganda, a magazine that looks at Uganda's landscape, both the tourism aspects of it, but also the leaders. We will be speaking with the founder of Imagine Me Africa and also the founder of Imagine Uganda. Now, that being said, on Sunday, during the prayers for His Majesty Ronald Muwenda Mutebi II, a cordial conversation between opposition leaders, that is Robert Sentamu of NUP and Matthias Mpuga, the former leader of opposition, had some people questioning their relationship. But the two have dismissed anything that shows that they are working together, saying that their differences are not personal but rather political, and away from the political scene, it doesn't stop them from respecting each other. If you remember, on Sunday, the two seemed to have consistent conversation during the prayers for His Majesty, which begs for the question that I would like for you to answer, dear viewer. Should our political leaders be at loggerheads, whether it is political or non-political, or they should actually exercise some cordial relationship, especially when they meet away from the political scene? I'd like to hear your views on that. But that being said, like I said, I'm not flying alone today. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning to you.
How are you?
I'm fine. I hope what I'm going to say is the right color. This time around. I love the red.
Thank you. You're right.
Oh,
it's red.
Men are known to be colorblind, but you've got it right. And you're not blamed for being colorblind.
We know.
Nowadays it was either dark or light over color. Now today I hear forest green.
Yes. Do you know what burgundy is?
Burgundy?
Do you know what beige is?
Lavender.
Lavender.
Why are you choosing violence this early morning? For me, when I go to buy something, I'm very clear. If I'm going for red, then I'll say, okay, give me dark or light.
But I've seen you in a grey suit, Robert. Do you know that there is ash grey?
Do you know the different shades of green? Lemon green.
Why the violence? I'm just asking myself.
Anyway, let's get to...
You're just becoming like these people that you've just talked about.
Current affairs. I know that you won't stammer. What has been, first of all, what has been tickling you as far as the local scene is concerned?
Well, KCCA came up with a trade order, and they are so much against these young boys who have been having, is it called a cut? And then they're selling sugar canes by the roadside. I may not be very well with that because even I don't consume that. But I'm looking at the employment rate and why we always go for the vulnerable. I think there's a problem in our society that if you're enforcing trade order, to be very honest, there is so much wrong that is happening in Kampala. Why do you wake up and say, now our main target are these young youth? By yesterday, they had impounded over 200 of those
sugarcane carts.
Yes, those carts. And about 50 of these young boys have already been arrested. Some are going to court, then they're going to be taken to Ruzira. You know, I feel, you see, there is unfairness in execution. And most of the times, we tend to target the vulnerable because they are the easy ones to target. Now, we must be principled enough. If we are saying it's trade order, let trade order go even to people who are constructing buildings in walkways. You remember the days of Jennifer Musisi when she had to make a lot of breakings. Today, whatever she broke is back. So we shouldn't always look for the vulnerable to make
And
a
leave
statement.
the big fish.
Yes, I don't see why these young boys, former street children, there would be problem. Can't you find a better way?
What is KCCA's argument?
That they're enforcing trade order. But I mean,
What would you rather them do?
I would rather, one, if you're going to implement the law, let there be no selective justice. But if you are saying, so and so, I want to mention the name, this building stretched into the way, let that be broken. If we are saying that these kiosks, are they kiosks or makeshifts? Jennifer Musad removed all of them.
I see what you're saying, Robert.
Let's remove them.
Yes.
So
What's
that when
good-
you come to these, we can look and say, yes, you've really been enforcing the law. But it hurts me when every time you go for these young women selling this, you go for the poorest among the poor.
Well,
because
what
they are
Robert
easy.
What
they are-
Robert is
no, no,
saying
I
is
feel
that
very
what's
offended.
good for the goose must be good for the gander. And
You deserve a handshake.
Oh,
well,
wow,
good
very
morning,
interesting.
Julie.
Good morning, Olive. Good morning. Thank you so much for choosing UBC TV. And I think for me, one of the highlights that is making rounds, especially on the internet in regards to current affairs and the political scene, is a video that was posted by the Observer newspaper on the internet, and it's of the 86-year-old retired general, Right Honorable Moses Ali, asking the people of Yumbe for support, seeking for another term in parliament. Now, in the video, you can rightfully see Honorable Moses Ali is unable. He's dealing with something that does not enable him to coordinate his speech pattern or his body and muscle movement, you know. And watching that video, I think for me, got me quite sad. And I wondered why in the first place would even his family members, just his primary closest contact, allow him to face the public in that state.
Well,
If I may
interesting.
come in into that, one, he has a right. Him as a person.
Yes, that's true.
The Constitution
But does his
allows
health-
him
That's true.
as
Let's
well.
look at his health.
But
Is
his
his health
health-
allowing him
Two,
to have that right?
when I look around a number of leaders on the African continent, even I remember in the US, maybe it was Joe Biden later, when his party felt that you can please, but for him, I think he still felt. But the party told him, well, I saw Kamala Harris coming, because I think had something similar.
Robert,
a
we'll
bit.
delve into
So,
that off air.
when someone
because
has
time
the
is of
right
the essence.
and it is him,
I mean, he
and
had-
the people of
he
Yumbe,
had
No,
someone
Ro-
if the
translating.
people of
Robert,
Yumbe
you
wake up
can't
and
say-
say that, well, you've rendered yourself, we want
But
to vote
you know,
for
here's
you.
the thing, he had
Lady-
someone
lady
translating
and
his
gentlemen,
speech for
our
him.
time
The
is
people will
fast spent.
decide.
Let's have a look at the local news.
Well, we begin with government administrators recently completed a training course at the National Leadership Institute in Changwanzi. The training on the theme, Transformative Public Service, a Path to Development, Improved Service Delivery and Wealth Creation, equipped civil servants with ideological clarity and practical tools for national transformation. During his address, the president identified a number of irritants eroding public trust in government. Among these was the illegal practice of charging learners in government-aided schools, which he described as a betrayal of the universal primary and secondary education policy. On healthcare, President Museveni decried theft of drugs in government health centers, even as immunization efforts continue to eliminate diseases like measles and polio. The president also spoke out strongly against land grabbing, particularly when facilitated by elements within the security forces. He pledged to issue an executive order banning soldiers from involving themselves in land disputes. As the country gears up for the general elections 2026, NRM leaders in Kakumiro district convened at the NRM house in Kakumiro on invitation of the Prime Minister Robin Anabanja, who is also the Kakumiro Women Member of Parliament, the National Chairperson NRM Workers League, and SEC member Dr. James Tweheyo, and NRM Vice Chairperson of Uganda, Chiwanda Godfrey Subi unveiled the political roadmap to the participants. Bugangaizi West MP and State Minister for Transport Fred Byamukama, Public Service State Minister Mary Mugasa were also there and shared wisdom with the leadership. Heads of the upcoming NRM primary elections, Kiwanda explained to the leaders how the party will conduct the elections by lining up, and that counting of the voter will be done in 1 hour to avoid multiple voting across villages. The Prime Minister informed the leaders all those intending to contest in the NRM primaries that they will have to pay a fee to the party. Nabanja urged the people of Kakumiro to ensure that President Museveni scoops Kakumiro by 100%. The leaders also vowed to support the Prime Minister and the President as their agents during the general elections 2026. Still on the local scene, the State House Anti-Corruption Unit, along with the Criminal Investigations Department and the Director of Public Prosecution, arraigned Wampero Samuel, an accountant at Nakawa Vocational Training College, before the Buganda Rural Chief Magistrate Court. Wampero is accused of forging academic documents, including the Uganda Certificate of Education, a Makerere University certificate, and a transcript for Kyambogo University. In 2004, the accused presented fake UCE and UACE pass slips, as well as counterfeit academic documents from Makerere University Business School to the Education Service Commission. His intention was to deceive in order to secure a job with the Ministry of Education and Sports as a senior accountant assistant at Nakawa Vocational College, which he was granted between 2021 and 2022. Wampero was appointed as a member of the governing council of the institution after allegedly issuing additional fake transcripts and certificates from Kyambogo University. The accused pleaded not guilty of the alleged case. Defense lawyer Abaho presented 3 sureties. The state attorney Anne Grace requested the prosecution for more time for the investigations on the bail application forms. The accused was denied bail and remanded until the 22nd of this very month. And finally, from the local scene, leaders and teachers at La Roro Seed School were worried at the delay in the completion of the construction works at the school, as the extension of the UGIFIT funds near expiring in June this year. Aldera Construction Company Limited is constructing 3 seed schools, that Nakiro Seed in Katekirabe Sub-County, Moroto District, Iriri Seed in Napak District, and Lora Seed in Amdat District, and was supposed to hand over all of them in December last year. Rural Seed Secondary School in Loro Sub-County, Amdat District, is being constructed under Uganda Intergovernmental Physical Transfer. The school supposed to be commissioned last year in December, but government extended it to June this year. The construction work by Aldera Construction Company Limited and the same contractor who is constructing Nakiroro in Moroto District and Iriri Seed School in Napak District all were supposed to be handed over to the districts by December last year. Amdat District Chairperson Joseph Nangole Lobot said hybrid procurement overloaded constructors, causing a delay in completing the work. Now, that brings us to the end of our local stories.
And now we move on to our international news, where President Donald Trump's administration has said it is freezing more than $2 billion, that is approximately 1.5 billion pounds, in federal funds for Harvard University, hours after the elite college rejected a list of demands from the White House. Harvard's statement today reinforces the troubling entitlement mindset that is endemic in our nation's most prestigious universities and colleges, the Department of Education said in a statement. The White House sent a list of demands to Harvard last week, which it said were designed to fight anti-Semitism on campus. They included changes to its governance, hiring practices, and admissions procedures. Harvard rejected the demands on Monday and said the White House was trying to control its community. It is the first major United States university to defy pressure from the Trump administration to change its policies. The sweeping changes demanded by the White House would have transformed its operations and ceded a large amount of control to the government. President Trump has accused leading universities of failing to protect Jewish students when college campuses around the country were roiled by protests against the war in Gaza and the U.S. support for Israel last year. Now moving on, Hamas is reviewing a new ceasefire proposal from Israel and will respond as soon as possible, as the movement spokesperson Sani Zuhir tells Al Jazeera that the request to disarm Hamas is not acceptable to even hear. Israeli forces killed at least 15 Palestinians in attacks on Gaza since dawn on Monday, medical sources tell Al Jazeera, with the latest strikes targeting tent shelters in the north and south of the enclave. Gaza's health ministry says at least 50,983 Palestinians are confirmed dead and 116,274 wounded in Israel's war on Gaza. The government media office updated its death toll to more than 61,700, saying thousands of people missing under the rubble are presumed dead. At least 1,139 people were killed in Israel during the Hamas-led October 7, 2023 attacks, and more than 200 were taken captive. And lastly, more than 400 people have been killed in recent attacks by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces in Sudan's Darfur region, says the UN, citing credible sources. Last week, RSF launched an intense ground and aerial assault on refugee camps surrounding the city of El Fasher in an attempt to seize the last state capital in Darfur, held by the rival and the Sudanese army. The two warring sides have been locked in a bloody struggle since April 2023. This has created the world's largest humanitarian crisis and forced millions to flee their homes. The UN said it had verified 148 killings between Thursday and Saturday, but warned the toll was much higher. UN spokeswoman Ravina Shamdasani told the BBC their verification process was still ongoing and their number didn't include Sunday's violence. Credible sources have reported more than 400 killed, said Ms. Shamdasani. At least 9 humanitarian aid workers were among those killed, this according to the UN. The refugee camps that surround El Fasher, Zamzan, and Abshuk provide temporary homes to more than 700,000 people, many of whom are facing famine and other conditions. Now, yesterday, a group of women went to space. Blue Origin's first all-women flight crew blasted off Monday on a journey 62 miles above Earth's surface to the Kármán line, the internationally recognized boundary of space. The NS-31 mission marked the 11th human flight of Jeff Bezos' New Shepard program. According to Gail King, who is a presenter on CBS Mornings, she said, "I can't even believe what I saw." She marveled. She joined pop superstar Katy Perry, journalist and philanthropist Lauren Sanchez, who is also Jeff Bezos' fiancée, film producer Kerianne Flynn, former NASA rocket scientist Aisha Bowie, the black woman in the middle, and civil rights activist Amanda Nguyen, and Blue Origin's historic trip to space. Bowie is the first Bahamian and Nguyen the first Vietnamese and Southeast Asian woman in space. They joined a small group of 52 prior passengers with the New Shepard program who have made the quick trip to space. And this is the first time all-women crew to lift off in the nearly 6 decades following Soviet cosmonaut Valentina Tereshkova's solo space flight on Blue Origin said. Well, congratulations to the women. It was 10 minutes, but I believe it was worth everything.
It was. But I also love Jeff Bezos' mind. He has a business mindset, and that was good marketing.
Good.
He was
good
very strategic.
Marketing. Yes. Gradually, what do we have in the paper?
On the local scene, starting off with the new vision, 300 head teachers and deputies appointed. And a list of appointments, schools affected inside, that is in the new vision. And still in the new vision, National Forestry Authority battles encroachers on Kamukuzi Forest Reserve. And a picture there of the authorities dealing with the whole situation of encroaching. But Museveni calls for action against bottlenecks in public service. That is still in the new vision. And Katanga, some swabs were destroyed after examination, says expert. And in the teen vision, midday 101, teens guide to debate. Still in the new vision, crime, car camera busts policeman in sex assault. And looking at employment, still in the new vision, URA recruits over 1,000 to fill vacant positions. That is in the new vision. But let's take a look at what is in the Daily Monitor. Journey back to army starts. That is in the Daily Monitor. Legal battle. Members of Parliament are expected to kickstart the journey of returning civilians to be tried in military courts, barely 3 months after the Supreme Court blocked the trial of civilians in the General Court Martial. Still in the Daily Monitor, Janet advises more women to join engineering. And about money, dollar dilemma, how capital markets missed Umeme moment. But also in the Daily Monitor, what next as Umeme government tussle over extra 420 billion shillings pay. And the Kabaka Motebi II, Bamunanika, where Kabaka's legacy lives among the subjects. And matters quote in the Daily Monitor, prosecutors judge read from different pages of rape charge. And it's a case of a cold war in brewing between prosecutors from the office of the DPP and High Court Judge David Batema over legal interpretation of whether girls below the age of 18 can be raped. Wow. Anyways, the lizard, the road might have been paid already. This is journey back to army courts. But still in the Daily Monitor, it's how sudden excitement and anxiety could kill you. I wish we could stop using Martha's picture anywhere, anyhow. It's sad. But anyways, drugs just one border away, campus gates, and there are tenders in there and opportunities for you to grab in the Daily Monitor. But let's look at what is in the Citizen. And cable transport strategy inches closer to reality. The regulatory framework for cable transport is at an advanced stage, with draft regulations under government review and institutional restructuring underway to accommodate the new mode of transport. But also still in the Citizen, 3 gas wells set for drilling in June. And Zanzibar tourism booms as rivals rise 15.4%. And in there's also a 98.3%. But also digital freedoms under security ahead of 2025 elections. And looking at the Daily Nation, Why is Kenya still in Haiti? That is in the Daily Nation. Biden, China and Russia vetoed the US's push for a UN peacekeeping force, and revealed how goons are getting tear gas canisters from rogue police. But also, fraudsters stole my identity. Kenyan jailed in the UAE, over 81 million shillings. Scam pleads, and Supreme Court moves to shield landowners from grabbers targeting expired leases. And that wraps it from what is in the dailies today. Good morning.
Thank you, Julie. And if you need more details regarding what's in the dailies, all you have to do is to buy the paper and get yourself the details. Now, we will leave you with an inspiration song for the day from Rude Boy, Reason With Me. We'll be right back.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Go for the vulnerable. I think there's a problem in our society that if you're enforcing trade order, to be very honest, there is so much wrong that is happening in Kampala. Why do you wake up and say, now our main target are these young youth? By yesterday, they had impounded over 200 of those. Yes, those carts. And about 50 of these young boys have already been arrested. Some are going to court, then they're going to be taken to Ruzira. You know, I feel, you see, there is unfairness in execution, and most of the times you tend to target the vulnerable because they are the easy ones to target. Now, we must be principled enough. If we are saying it's trade order, let trade order go even to people who are constructing buildings in walkways. You remember the days of Jennifer Musisi, when she had to make a lot of breakings. Today, whatever she broke is back. So we shouldn't always look for the vulnerable to make a statement.
The big fish.
Yes, I don't see why these young boys, former street children, there would be problem. Can't you find a better way?
What is KCCA's argument?
That they're enforcing trade order. But I mean,
what would you rather them do?
I would rather, one, if you're going to implement the law, let there be no selective justice. But if you are saying, so and so, I want to mention the name, this building stretched into the way, let that be broken. If we are saying that these kiosks, are they kiosks or makeshifts? Jennifer Musad removed all of them.
I see what you're saying, Robert.
Let's remove them.
Yes.
So that when you come to these, we can look and say, yes, you've really been enforcing the law. But it hurts me when every time you go for these young women selling this, you go for the poorest among the poor.
Well,
because they are easy.
What Robert is saying is that what's
offended.
good for the goose must be good for the gander. And
You deserve a handshake.
well, good morning, Julie.
Good morning, Olive. Good morning. Thank you so much for choosing UBC TV. And I think for me, one of the highlights that is making rounds, especially on the internet in regards to current affairs and the political scene, is a video that was posted by the Observer newspaper on the internet, and it's of the 86-year-old retired general, Right Honorable Moses Ali, asking the people of Yumbe for support, seeking for another term in parliament. Now, in the video, you can rightfully see Honorable Moses Ali is unable. He's dealing with something that does not enable him to coordinate his speech pattern or his body and muscle movement, you know. And watching that video, I think for me, got me quite sad. And I wondered why in the first place would even his family members, just his primary closest contact, allow him to face the public in that state?
Well, interesting.
If I may come into that, one, he has a right. Him as a person.
Yes, that's true.
The Constitution
But does his
allows
health-
him
That's true.
as
Let's
well.
look at his health. Is
Two.
his health allowing him
Two.
to have that right?
When I look around a number of leaders on the African continent, even I remember in the US, maybe it was Joe Biden later, when his party felt that you can please, but for him, I think he still felt. But the party told him, well, I saw Kamala Harris coming. Because I think had something similar.
Robert, we'll delve into that off air.
When someone has the right,
and
it is him, and the people of Yumbe, wake up and say that, well, you've rendered yourself, we won't vote for you.
But you know, here's the thing, he had someone translating.
Gentlemen, our time is fast spent. Let's have a look at the local news.
Well, we begin with government administrators recently completed a training course at the National Leadership Institute in Changwanzi. The training on the theme, Transformative Public Service, a Path to Development, Improved Service Delivery and Wealth Creation, equipped civil servants with ideological clarity and practical tools for national transformation. During his address, the president identified a number of irritants eroding public trust in government. Among these was the illegal practice of charging learners in government-aided schools, which he described as a betrayal of the universal primary and secondary education policy. On healthcare, President Museveni decried theft of drugs in government health centers, even as immunization efforts continue to eliminate diseases like measles and polio. The president also spoke out strongly against land grabbing, particularly when facilitated by elements within the security forces. He pledged to issue an executive order banning soldiers from involving themselves in land disputes. As the country gears up for the general elections 2026, NRM leaders in Kakumiro district convened at the NRM house in Kakumiro on invitation of the Prime Minister Robina Nabbanja, who is also the Kakumiro Women Member of Parliament, the National Chairperson NRM Workers League, and SEC member Dr. James Tweheyo, and NRM Vice Chairperson of Uganda, Chiwanda Godfrey Subi, unveiled the political roadmap to the participants. Bugangai's West MP and State Minister for Transport, Fred Byamukama, Public Service State Minister Mary Mugasa were also there and shared wisdom with the leadership, heads of the upcoming NRM primary elections. Kiwanda explained to the leaders how the party will conduct the elections by lining up, and that counting of the voter will be done in 1 hour to avoid multiple voting across villages. The Prime Minister informed the leaders and all those intending to contest in the NRM primaries that they will have to pay a fee to the party. Nabbanja urged the people of Kakumiro to ensure that President Museveni scoops Kakumiro by 100%. The leaders also vowed to support the Prime Minister and the President as their agents during the general elections 2026. Still on the local scene, the State House Anti-Corruption Unit, along with the Criminal Investigations Department and the Director of Public Prosecution, arraigned Wampero Samuel, an accountant at Nakawa Vocational Training College, before the Buganda Rural Chief Magistrate Court. Wampero is accused of forging academic documents, including the Uganda Certificate of Education, a Makerere University certificate, and a transcript for Chambogo University. In 2000,
Gladys Chaiga, who is the business associate and admin at Imagine Uganda initiative. Good morning and you're welcome.
Good morning, Olive.
Good morning, Destiny.
Good morning, Olive. Thanks for having us today.
Well, it's my pleasure to have you. First of all, Mr. Mawa, for those that are seeing you for the first time, I remember the first time I saw you, I did ask you, are you Ugandan? Please speak to our viewers.
It's truly a pleasure to have us here at UBC. And I am absolutely delighted, in part because we are actually really sharing something that's very dear to my heart, and that's the Imagine Uganda initiative. Like you said correctly, my name is Moses Mawa. I am based actually in Toronto, Canada, and involved with a number of projects there. One of them is actually Silver Trust Media, which is actually the largest black-owned media company in Canada. We run a TV network, we publish magazines, we have television programs on other platforms as well. But then subsequently we decided actually to come up with this Imagine Uganda initiative, which is absolutely unique and special. And so it's a pleasure to be here to discuss that with you.
All right, and Destiny, please tell us briefly about yourself and what you do at Imagine Uganda.
Well, my name is Destiny Gladys Chaiga, and I'm a communications person. I am a poet and spoken word artist. And yeah, I can't miss saying that. At Imagine Uganda, I have the privilege of offering support as a project admin and also business associate, supporting in coordinating different things to see that the initiative runs, especially in this moment where we are laying the foundation for the long run. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Now, from trade and tourism to leadership, investment and the diaspora, this initiative aims to reshape how the world views Uganda. This is why we are having this conversation. Now, starting with you, Mr. Mawa, please tell us, what is the Imagine Uganda initiative, what is it all about, and what influenced you to start it?
Thank you so much for that question. Imagine Uganda is basically intended to present the great nation, the Pearl of Africa, in a very unique and special way. And one of the best ways to approach that is to make sure that the key pillars of trade, investment, tourism, and of course the Ugandan diaspora is actually put in focus. For me in particular, having lived in Canada for many years, I have been involved with showcasing the very best of Africa through the Afro Global Television Network that is actually across Canada, and through various publications, including Excellence Magazine and so many others as well. And then we also came up subsequently with an initiative known as the Discover Series, which we did on Nigeria, on Kenya, on Zambia, on Zimbabwe and other countries as well. So then what we basically decided to do is to come up with one for Uganda, and that is specifically actually the Imagine Uganda initiative. And the main focus is actually about trade, and that's in part because of the fact that Uganda actually has to export products to other parts of the world. And then we also have to import certain things, including machinery and so on, into Uganda as well. And then in addition to that, the idea of investments, attracting foreign investment into the country, and then attracting diaspora investment also into Uganda is extremely significant. So that is actually a key pillar of the project as well. And then in addition to that, we actually looked at the importance of doing something in the area of tourism. Uganda actually offers absolutely phenomenal tourism opportunities, to get tourists actually from various parts of the world to actually come and see the Pearl of Africa, the most beautiful nation, I must say, actually in the world. And only perhaps the next one to that would actually be Canada. Let me just be biased because of my Canadian sort of connection as well. So I'm actually really saying this with tremendous humility, recognizing also the work that is actually being done by members of the Ugandan diaspora, making a difference. So for the diaspora component, many of us actually who are outside of the country remit actually money back into the country here, to support relatives, to undertake particular projects, to do investments and so on. So it is therefore important that, that role is actually recognized. and then for us to also be able to make even much more profound or significant difference in collaboration with the private sector as well as the public sector through constructive sort of arrangements that are going on. I was actually quite pleased to be a part of the Uganda diaspora a convention that was organized by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in association with State House. And then, of course, my dear friend Ronnie Mayanza has for many years actually organized the Uganda Diaspora Homecoming, which has been held successfully in this country for a number of years. But what we are just doing right now is to come up with, the platforms that will be able to showcase the accomplishments of the diaspora, what it is that they can actually do in the country here in Uganda. And then also, of course, for those who are willing and interested to actually return to make a more profound difference, they are actually able to do that. So it has been such a beautiful one, actually.
Okay. Now, what would you say to someone who may ask, is this project politically affiliated?
That's a very good question, because you say when you promote trade, you are supporting any Ugandan who is actually doing business, regardless of their political affiliation or anything whatsoever. When you're actually attracting investment into the country, you're attracting investment to make a difference in the lives of everyone who is actually a Ugandan, right? Regardless of their political affiliations. When you're actually attracting tourists actually to come here, that person who actually offers a border ride, that person actually who has a tour company, that person actually who has various projects in the tourism sort of sector, regardless of their political sort of affiliation, what is actually being done will actually benefit them. Same thing with virtually every sector. So what basically I have decided to do together with my team, Gladys and the others being involved as well, is specifically about that. And I'm so pleased to say that some of my associates, Jacqueline Tumusime, who is actually based in Canada as well, Susan Nalwoga, and several others, who are outside of the country, along with some that are actually within Uganda. We are simply passionate about our country, and we want it actually to be as successful as it can be.
Okay. I don't know if this question should go to Destiny, but Destiny,
yes,
we
please.
did have the launch of Imagine Me Uganda magazine at the Women's Day celebrations. Why was it being launched on that day important?
Launching it on Women's Day was important, first of all, for the first reason that when this idea was brought forward, especially to the president in January.
Yes.
And we know that he is passionate about seeing how Uganda is promoted internationally. When we talk of promoting Uganda internationally, last year I had a chance of studying in Norway on global journalism. And one of the things that we handled was media representation of Africa, how the other world represents whatever is reported in Africa. You find there's a lot of negativity.
That's right.
So for the president to pick interest and give us a timeline within less than 2 months that on Women's Day, I would like to launch this project. It was important for us to work within the little time we had to have a deliverable that can be launched. So it was important because having millions of people witness this public endorsement of the project, not just the magazine, as much as the magazine is the first product out there. We have the documentary series that are coming, the different public relations related issues and materials, the online social media content that is to come, not just about tourism, but all these sectors that Mr. Mawa has mentioned. So launching it on that day was a milestone for us.
Okay.
Because it is before the whole world, it's before the whole nation, and it is approval that this is something that we can embrace, this is something that we can rally on, and this is something that all of us can join hands in promoting our country, not only in the nation itself, but across the borders that we can find. Yeah.
Okay. And of course, I see here some of the key messages. One is from the Right Honorable Anita Annett Among, the Speaker of Parliament, and it's titled Champion of Democracy. Yes, you see why I had to ask about it being politically affiliated, because this is, in my opinion, and from what Mr. Mawa and yourself have shared, this is a project that is about Uganda and individuals that are shaping Uganda politically, economically, and in other facets. So it's important for us to draw the line and have a clear understanding of who is the target audience for, let's say, the magazine itself.
You know, this publication is very special because when you actually have a chance to go through, you will see that we have infrastructure, we have tourism, we have opportunities in various sort of areas that are reflected in it as well. And that is in part because the publication is really intended to reach Ugandans in the diaspora. It is intended to reach investors who may want to actually come to Uganda to invest. It is intended actually to provide information about trade. We have coffee, we have, now we are actually into manufacturing as well. We have various sort of entities, including the bus manufacturing, plant, Kira, that is here happening. And there are also motorcycles, electric ones that are actually made in Uganda as well. There are software engineering, all kinds of people that are doing amazing things in this beautiful country. And one of the things that has actually happened is that we have partnered with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I'm actually incredibly grateful to the Minister and the Permanent Secretary, Vincent Bajire, and of course also the head of public diplomacy, Margaret, Awina Kafero as well, who has worked with us very closely to make sure that the vision is actualized. We had the opportunity actually to meet with the President, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni in his country home actually, which was absolutely awesome in the month of January on the 8th. And since that time, the projection, actually, the growth of the initiative has actually been phenomenal. And we are actually willing and open to make sure that we connect with everyone who is actually keen on transforming the nation. Trade, investment, tourism, diaspora, and all other kinds of things that are actually associated with it as well.
Okay. Now, Destiny, a question for you here. How is Imagine Uganda initiative different from other national branding or promotional initiatives that we have seen in the past?
Well, I will say that our uniqueness lies in the fact that we are not just looking at the nation itself, because right now, I know we have seen, especially on social media, different influencers coming on board, promoting the tourism sector mainly, to see that we have more people seeing Uganda in a different light. That one we appreciate. But the fact that the initiative is looking beyond tourism to see issues of investment, leadership, the diaspora, agriculture, and even in time to come, we shall look at the local government, what is happening at the different levels of local government. It is more holistic and rounded up compared to just looking at one specific sector of Uganda. Yes, we have beautiful aspects of tourism, but with this Imagine Uganda initiative, we are looking beyond just the tourism area to showcase this. But also the other key thing that I can point that makes us unique is the target of the diaspora. The image of our country among even our own who have lived for long that side. Sometimes it's a bit twisted because of the source of information that they get. It may be from one particular area that is negative majority, but through this they get a chance to flip the other side of the coin, to appreciate and to have hope that there's a lot happening in the country. They shouldn't just look for only a source of news to talk about Uganda, but they should also consider the different things that we are bringing on board, and importantly, pick interest in investing in their country, investing in the development and growth of their country, and also being ambassadors of Uganda wherever they are in a positive light.
Okay, and that's very important because, I mean, you've seen, let's say Hollywood does a movie in Uganda, and where they choose to shoot, whatever they're shooting is normally not it's not a clear representation of Uganda. There is this challenge where people, I forget the name, but I saw like where they run, and you know, it's a challenge where you're told in these minutes go find this, go find that. I've forgotten the name of that show, but they were here, and still I saw them in places that are not a clear representation of the country. Now, I do understand that you're partnering with Uganda Airlines. Please tell us more about that partnership.
Yeah, one of the things that happened when we had the meeting with the president and discussions at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is that when you go to any Ugandan mission overseas, whether it's in Washington or Pretoria, South Africa or Turkey, China, anywhere whatsoever, you don't really have enough or appropriate communications tools, right? So imagine Uganda would actually be available at the various missions of Uganda, you know, overseas, high commissions, embassies and consulates, and so on. And one thing that we've then decided actually to do is to have a conversation with Uganda Airlines, which is actually doing absolutely well, and I'm so proud about the leadership of the airline, and that is actually positioning it for continued growth. So having actually a national carrier such as that, we also want to promote it through this platform, so that Ugandans would actually have a choice when they are actually flying overseas to do business, to pursue or look for investment opportunities, or to be involved with anything, or they are members of the diaspora, they should actually consider using Uganda Airlines. So that is actually one major thing that we've decided to do. The second point is that we also have decided to make sure that we have a collaborative sort of approach with the airline to ensure that we are able to create Imagine Uganda content that can actually become available as a part of in-flight entertainment, which is actually very important. And we also want to ensure that much as they actually have an in-flight publication, we want to ensure that Imagine Uganda actually becomes an additional publication that is available in-flight. That also means that at airports, business lounges, and various places, you'll actually be able to get a copy of Imagine Uganda, which would actually provide, you know, fairly different sort of content and perspectives based on, you know, our overall sort of strategies. And I'm also really pleased about what the nation is trying to do with its focus on economic and commercial diplomacy, and that is, you know, real focus on specific areas that include agriculture, technology, you know, mineral development, and various things such as that. You know, so us being actually involved with advancing the nation in all of these areas, and then considering also the Vision 2040, which the nation has actually successfully launched, that is fairly significant. And Olive, if I may say, you know, one of the things that really makes me so proud about being a Ugandan is that we are extremely, you know, patriotic, regardless of some of the challenges that come with especially dissent and political sort of approaches and mindsets and things like that. But at the end of the day, we love each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the most important things. And then by loving one another and each other, we need to actually make sure that our means of livelihood, you know, through trade, investment, and even tourism, and of course the diaspora as well, that these things are actually, you know, put forward, you know, successfully. And our intention is to make sure that the aspirations of Ugandans overseas are also really, really pulled closer to home, and so on, because there have been all kinds of challenges that are experienced as well. You know, those overseas are sending investments, you know, resources home, and some of those not actually being handled very well. And through sort of constructive efforts and sharing information and ideas, we are actually able to ensure that some of these things are actually put in proper perspective.
Well, that's, I mean, if you have not picked interest in this initiative, but also in loving your country even more, then I think there is something we need to sort. But me, I am sold. Destiny,
Yes,
what
please.
would be your parting message to Ugandans?
My parting message to Ugandans, beyond just imagine Uganda,
Yes.
is that every country has the side that you will see on media and the side that you will not see on media. And how you view your home, Uganda, is up to you. The other countries also have their issues, just that they don't show us a lot.
They give us what they
What
think is
they
perfect.
want,
Yes.
they recreate our perspective. So it is our responsibility to appreciate what we have while we recognize the challenges, but also have hope and to know that it is all our responsibilities as fellow Ugandans
Thank you.
to see the good in it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Mawa, in briefly, your parting remarks.
What I would basically say is that along the lines of what Destiny has said, it is extremely important that we remain positive and we do the best that we can to advance our nation. And that is in part because of the fact that we do have a beautiful country, very resourceful, awesome opportunities and so on. And if we are not in a position of you know, promoting it, who will? And at the end of the day, if we do not promote it, it is going to be quite a challenge. And I would encourage everyone out there who has the opportunity to be able to support this project by way of advertising, by way of sponsorship, by way of partnership, to consider doing so. And you know, look out for also our content, particularly actually on various social media platforms, especially doing a search on the Imagine Uganda brand, and you will not actually regret it, because it's a beautiful project and all of us really need to have our hands on deck to ensure that it is successful.
Well, thank you so much. I have been speaking to Mr. Moses Mawa, who is the President and CEO Imagine Uganda Initiative, and also Miss Destiny Gladys Chaiga, who is the Business Associate and Admin at Imagine Uganda Initiative. Good Morning Uganda does continue, as Akia Laki will be coming up next with the Good Morning Uganda Tourism Express. They will be speaking matters cycling as a form of sports tourism. Stick around.
Juko.
Yo.
Wachikuwa. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Magana, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
We are still on Good Morning Uganda, and thank you for sticking around. My name is Zakia Lucky, and this is Good Morning Uganda Tourism Express. This morning we'll be diving into fun cycling as a form of sport tourism, and with me is the chairperson of Fun Cycling. I have been seeing this all over, and quite activities have been done, a number of them actually. It's not just about fitness, but you're going to get to know how it connects into tourism and a number of activities that have been done. I've seen charity, and we've actually done a cleanup with Fun Cycling as well. Please introduce yourself, Mr. Sali.
Thank you so much, Lucky. My name's Ras Bisali. I'm a musician.
Okay.
And I'm also into events management, and I'm also a fitness promoter. I'm one person who looks at fitness as part of our levity. My hobby is cycling, of course. I'm the chairperson of Fun Cycling UG, based here in Uganda, Kampala.
That's amazing. This reminds me of those days when we used to see cyclists in Kabale town, where I come from. It's not like what you have these days, but there used to be bikes that our elders used to use back then,
Sure.
you know, as a form of sports, and it used to entertain everyone in town. In that, girls took time to also learn, including myself. I don't know if it's connected to what to do, but give us a brief background about Fun Cycling.
Well, Fun Cycling started during COVID. You know, me as a person who is into physical activity, gymming, jogging, you know, it has been part of me. So when everything was closed down during COVID, you know, it was a challenge to me. I'm like, now what am I gonna do? All gyms were locked up. The only option was jogging. But you see, they reached a time when jogging was also stopped. I was like, now, what am I gonna do? So when the president talked about cycling, I was like, oh, I think I should acquire a bicycle, because this is an activity I used to do when I was young. So I'm like, this is the time to reactivate. So getting a bicycle was also hard, because remember the first 14 days, the entire country was locked down.
Yeah.
So what I did, I used social media. I went onto Facebook, checked around, and then I got a supplier. Of course, the bicycle wasn't the best, but I managed to get one. But it was expensive. It wasn't the best, but it was expensive. I think I bought it at around 900,000, inclusive of 50K to bring it to my home. Remember, there was no movement. So I got the bicycle. I was like, yes, now what next? Riding. So I hit the road. You know, the roads were empty. So I could cycle around the entire Kampala free. And then I used to visit friends. You know, I acquired a basket, installed it onto the bicycle, and you know, I used to go to markets, do my shopping, and back. So an idea came up. I was like, oh, I think, because I've been a social media person all the time, I'm like, now, I think I should create a Facebook page and, you know, tag friends. So I did it. And then I was like, which name should I give it? You know, it was fun, you know, cycling around. So I was like, okay, fun cycling. But you know, it had to have an identity. So I was like, if I add on Uganda, you know, it gives it an identity, that fun cycling from Uganda. So I named it Fun Cycling UG. And then I opened up the page. When I started posting my adventures, cycling around, friends were interested. They were like, oh yes, we should come and join. So people started joining, one by one, one by one. Our first long ride was Entebbe. You know, we're like, we go to Entebbe. You know, by then Entebbe was like an uphill, you know, riding to Entebbe, 80 kilometers was, oh yeah. Like you spend the entire day on the road cycling.
Yeah.
So that's how fun cycling kicked off. And along the way, I noticed that we need to be more organized as a group. So with the members we had around, the guys we had around, you know, I proposed an idea of registering the group as a club. So we had members, one of our members is a lawyer, so he advised us. And then we went to URSB and registered Fun Cycling UG as a limited by guarantee. Yes. So that's how Fun Cycling formed up.
Okay, that's an interesting background. I've seen you do quite a number of activities, cycling even outside Kampala itself. I think you've done the Rwenzori Marathon, even penetrating to those hilly areas. How has it been evolving? When you tell anyone you've cycled in a hilly area, like just like Kabale Okisoro, they really want to understand how. Yes, how has it evolved over the years in the tourism sector?
Basically, when we formed up as an entity, as a club, now we had to have objectives. What was our objective? So apart from fun, we looked at the fitness and health, because you know, with a bicycle, it's an exercise.
Yes.
Apart from commuting or a sport, it's an exercise. You know, when you cycle, you activate the entire body. You work the entire body. All the muscles of the body are working in one go. So we said, yeah, health. Because people joined Fun Cycling due to different interests. Others, it was fun. Others, it was fitness. Others, health conditions. So we looked at the health. So we also looked at safety, because we are on the road all the time. So we had to bring in that aspect. And now that we had started traversing the entire country, we looked at tourism. And of course, we enjoy the air. So we looked at the environment, you know, preserving our environment, a clean and green environment. And of course, supporting charity, because we have a lot of vulnerable people. But the way we support charity is different. Us, we are more into skilling.
Okay.
We are not this kind of people who give you money or food, because this is not sustainable. So what we do, when we get to the communities out there, we identify vulnerable communities and we identify what they need. Say if they need a welding machine or sewing machines, you know, that is what we provide them so that they learn and be able to sustain themselves. Back to the tourism. So we looked into, because this has been a Muzungu thing. When you're on the bicycle out there, kids, even adults, abazungu, abazungu, yet they see us, we are black, very dark, but they call us bazungu, because it has been a Muzungu-centered activity, where they see us well dressed in our helmets, having good bicycles and having our luggage on the bicycles. For them, they see a typical Muzungu. So we're like, now this, we have to start it as Ugandans and show Ugandans that this is possible. We can tour Uganda on a bicycle. And by the way, you see a lot when you're on a bicycle than when you're in a car, because when you're on a bicycle, as you see in the pictures, videos, you know, we take several routes off the main road. So we see a lot of sites, we go a lot of, you know, adventurous trails, which you can't enjoy when you're in a car. We've seen several sites. In fact, our first longest ride was Jinja via Nkokonjeru. And you know, we first did an off-road from Jokers. You know, you can do an off-road from Kampala to Jinja without touching the main road, through the sugarcane, through Mabira, up to Jinja. You know, all these are routes available. You know, these are routes on ground. But I think we need to see how we engage the tourism players and share with them this kind of settings, routes, whereby tourists can enjoy. So we've toured so many sites. We've been to, you know, we have an independence ride every year to Kalangala.
Yes.
Yes, so it's very interesting. Through Masaka, Kakata, then we do the palm, you know, plantations up to Kalangala, and then we do a local tour around, you know, talking to communities and seeing how they live. We've done so many. We've done Ziwa Rhino Sanctuary. We've tracked the rhinos on the bicycles. Visited CP Falls, Seziwa Falls. We visited farms, schools.
And you cycle to all those places?
We cycle.
I'm curious, you said when you're riding there's so much that you get to see, unlike when you were in the car. What are those mesmerizing places that you've gotten to see as you ride to those destinations?
We've seen lots of sites. Say, when you look at Buganda, Buganda has a lot of history, untapped history. In fact, this is one thing we need to talk about. You tend to meet, to find say tombs, like the Wamala tombs, you know. The other time we saw where the Mukajanga burial site, you know, people celebrate Martyrs' Day, but you know, Mukajanga is the center of the martyrs, but people don't even know about him. But on the bicycle, I was able to see where Mukajanga site is, and it's very near. You know, there is Nyumba Buganda here in Budo, where the king is crowned. All these are sites you see when you're on the bicycle. You get what I mean?
Yes.
Yet when you're in a car, it is very hard for you to think of going to such places. And then also trails, you know, you get to learn and appreciate nature. Because when you cycle around, you find that most natural forests are gone. Yes, we cry about climate change, but when you cycle out there, you find that all these natural forests have been cut down. And people are planting eucalyptus, sijui what. So you also come to appreciate nature because this is the air we breathe. When we're out there, you know, you breathe that cool, soft air, which you don't breathe when you're in Kampala here because of the pollution. So lots of sites we've seen. We've done Fort Poto.
Yeah.
We did a Choto Hampango. And even the king was surprised that we could cycle from Kampala to Fort Poto in one day. That is around 200 and something kilometers. And we visited several sites. Amaberega, Nyinamwiru. We went to the Crater Lakes, you know, the beautiful sceneries out there. And we also engaged in canoeing. And even we won the race. So we've participated in several activities. Say we have an event at Busi Island. You know Busi Island?
Yeah, sure.
It is near here, but when you tell people there is Busi Island, they don't know. Yet it's just across Entebbe here, very near Kampala. It's a very good place. You know, we have activities there. We introduced new games to the communities there. We do a triathlon where we swim, because there's natural water there. There's a lake. Swim, cycle, and run. We do a duathlon. Those who are able, who are not able to swim, we engage into the duathlon. You cycle and run.
Yeah.
We do local wrestling, echigo. Women run in sacks. Kids cycle. And then we cycle around the entire island, you know, telling them that you need to preserve this island. The trees, the good trails, you know, there is a lot to see there. So this is part of the message we convey to the communities whenever we cycle out there.
You talked about cycling to long distances, and I'm wondering what are some of the safety measures that are put in place if anyone is looking at, you know, joining that kind of sport in tourism?
Like I mentioned before, cycling is part of our objective because we are on the road, and you know our roads, they're very narrow and they don't take bicycles. You know, when you look at the roads, in fact, people wonder, how do you cycle on those highways? Yes, we've learned the hard way. We've learned the hard way. Basically, when you look at safety, it starts with you, the person. How do you present yourself? You need proper safety gear, cycling gear. You need a helmet, you need proper jerseys, the shoes, and the bicycle, good one. And also we are engaging into cycling advocacy, safety advocacies. So we have what we call the Kampala Cycling Day. We partnered with EB.
Okay.
We partnered with the European Union, KCCA, because these are the custodians of this city. So we ride with the engineers every last Friday of the month around Kampala, showing them what we go through as cyclists. And with safety, we are also looking at bringing in more players, like the media, because we need this voice to be amplified. We are looking at bringing in Boda Boda, the organization, the taxis, because these are the people who misuse roads. So we need to bring them on board so that we cycle with them and they see and appreciate that they need to respect other road users. So, and also when we are cycling on these highways, we normally use the 4 body parts. The ear, you need to be very sharp. You need to listen. You need to use your eyes. You need to keep seeing what is here and here. You need to use your hands. you need to use your voice. So these are the measures we use.
So to that person watching you that would like to be a part of this, how can they be a part of you, and as you continue to give us your closing remarks?
Fun Cycling, we are on social media. You find us on TikTok as Fun Cycling UG, Instagram, X, that is Twitter, Facebook. So we are a members club. You can subscribe, contact me, subscribe and become a member.
Okay, thank you so much. That's been Fun Cycling. It is a form of sport tourism. You've had quite all these interesting conversations about it. Look them up on social media, and we are still on Good Morning Uganda. Stick with us.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Good morning. Welcome back from that conversation on Fun Cycling. My name is Julie Nantaba Musisi, and it's time for GMU Business, and looking at the not so fun conversation in regards to business, as that is starting off with the Umeme dispute with the government. Now, one thing for sure is it is a flinching feeling to fall out or end a business, but still have to deal with disputes regarding that particular business. And that is the story of Umeme and the government of Uganda. Now, the Uganda Securities Exchange has extended the suspension of Umeme Limited's trading counter for another 30 days, citing an ongoing dispute with the government of Uganda over the final buyout amount. Now, the suspension, initially imposed on March 31st, 2025, will now continue until May 14th, 2025, as both parties attempt to resolve their differences. The decision to extend suspension follows Umeme's formal declaration of a dispute with the government, which the government served to the Ministry of Finance on April 11th, 2025. And the core issue revolves around the amount the government owes Umeme for unrecovered investments in Uganda's electricity distribution infrastructure after the concession ended on March 31st. Umeme claims a buyout amount of $234 million, while the Auditor General recommended a lower sum of $118.4 million, which the government paid. The Permanent Secretary to the Treasury, Ramadan Gobi, recently reiterated the government's firm stance on adhering to the Auditor General's assessment, noting that government based its payment on findings thorough audits and due diligence. This suspension on the USE signifies heightened uncertainty for investors. Holding Umeme shares as the final resolution will significantly impact the company's financial position and future prospects. And investors are advised to monitor developments closely and consult with financial advisors before making investment decisions. But still staying with matters money and conflicts, financial experts have declared and decried failure by East African community states to have funds for resolution banks. The Chief Executive Officer of Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda, Dr. Juliet Claire Olima Oyet, says failure to set funds aside for such occurrences forces East African governments to use a tax which turns out to be expensive. Dr. Olima Oyet was speaking at the opening of a one-week meeting of financial experts from East African community states in Kampala. When a bank runs out of business and closes, it remains at the mercy of government for a bailout, or it collapses for good, and the depositors end up being affected. Financial experts from Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, South Sudan, and the host Uganda have convened to deliberate the way for resolution funding to avoid financial crisis. Dr. Juliet Claire Olima Oyet says failure to set funds aside for such occurrences forces East African governments to use taxes, and the East African Monetary Affairs Committee recommended that partner states establish their national resolution funds by December 2026, but it's not yet clear if any of East Africa's states will beat that deadline. Now, looking at matters regional integration, South Sudan entrepreneurs have launched the Sudan-Uganda Trade Forum in Kampala. The partnership with business leaders, investors, policymakers, and trade advocates from both countries, signaling a new era of cross-border economic collaboration. Now, organized under the theme Bridging Markets, Building Futures, the forum aimed to explore trade opportunities, promote investment partnerships, and unlock new supply chains between Sudan and Uganda. The launch of the Trade Forum featured keynote speeches, product exhibitions, and business-to-business meetings focused on sectors such as agriculture, construction, textiles, and logistics. Ugandan officials praised the initiative, citing it as a welcome boost to regional integration under the African Continental Free Trade Area. Participants expressed optimism about the forum becoming an annual platform to drive Africa's intra-trade ambitions, and the launch marks a strong step towards economic diplomacy and entrepreneurial synergy, one that could set a precedent for other African nations. Finally, looking at matters science and technology, institutions of higher learning have been urged to embrace science and technology as well as innovation to stay relevant and address poverty, disease, and ignorance, thereby driving economic transformation. The call was made by Professor Buyinza Makadasi, Deputy Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs and Research at Makerere University, while officiating a two-day workshop organized by the College of Engineering, Design, Art and Technology. Members of Makerere University's College of Engineering, Design, Art and Technology have convened in Entebbe for a two-day workshop aimed at crafting innovative teaching strategies that align with the newly revised curriculum. The workshop provides a platform for participants to examine the key components that must be prioritized by all institutions of higher learning to foster science, technology, and innovation. Well, now time to look at the exchange rates as of 14th April 2025, a day that saw the pound, the British pound, and the euro gain value while the dollar dropped. And as of 14th April 2025, the dollar was buying at 3,669.95 and selling at 3,679.95. The British pound, which gained value, was buying at 4,805.00 and selling at 4,808.12. And the euro was buying at 4,168.02, gained value there as well, and selling at 4,179.40. The Kenyan shilling did maintain its value, buying at 28.25 and selling at 28.32. And the Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.37 and gaining value in its selling at 1.38. Finally, the South African rand was buying at 198.54 and selling at 193.06. And that's it from GMU Business. Good Morning Uganda does continue. Olive is ready with that conversation in the agenda. Good morning, Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Maskari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archive stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. Now, mental health awareness is a subject you've heard us talk about pretty much every other week, and we cannot talk enough. However, there is an ongoing issue among the youth, and that is the issue of drug abuse among our youth, and it is affecting many of them. Studies indicate that 30% of Ugandans are struggling with one or another issue that is related to mental health or mental health related challenges. And today I will be speaking to Dr. Grace Bikumbi. He is a clinical psychologist, so he's actually correcting me. That does not warrant for a doctor. But yes, I'll be speaking to Grace Bikumbi, who is a clinical psychologist and also an addiction specialist from Butabika Hospital. Together, we will delve deeper into this issue that many of our youth are facing, because reports also, crime reports from the Uganda Police Force do indicate that some of our youth are actually smuggling drugs into schools, and these ones are young as those that are in secondary schools. Now, the issue is even worse for those that are in universities. Why are our youth becoming dependent on substances like drugs, like alcohol? What is compelling them to be addicted or to be dependent onto these substances? What issues are they facing? What are we not doing as parents, as a society? And what are we doing that is actually being an influence and a trigger for them to depend on substances? Too many questions, but I'm sure that the expert I have here today will be in position to answer many of these, and together we will find the solutions that we need to save the future generation. Good morning.
Good morning.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Your name?
My name is Olive. I'm glad to have you here today, and this conversation is timely.
Yes, Olive.
Yes.
Yeah,
so please tell our viewers more about yourself before we get into the conversation.
Yes. Good morning, Uganda. My name, once again, as Olive echoed it, called Grace Bikumbi. Grace Bikumbi is a clinical psychologist and a mental health specialist, but above all, addiction specialist and professional. Work in Butabika Hospital, a globally certified addiction professional who has been in the field of mental health and treating people with mental illness and addictions for the last 16 years. Yes.
Okay. I do understand that you also run you're part of another rehabilitation project.
Yeah,
please
very
tell us
true.
about
Yes,
it.
I'm part of another rehabilitation project, which is Kampala Youth Recovery Foundation and Presidential Initiative for Rehabilitation of the Ghetto Youth. This is one of the presidential initiatives under the skilling of the ghetto youth. So where we rehabilitate most of these ghetto youth who have been into substance use, who have been engaging into drug abuse, and also after we take them for the skilling, for the 9 skilling centers in Kampala that were put up by the President of Uganda to make sure that the ghetto youth are also catered for and the ghetto youth are also helped and rehabilitated. Yes.
Okay. Now, recent reports do indicate that 14 million Ugandans are grappling with mental health disorders, with the youth being significantly affected. Now, Mr. Bikumbi, what would you say are the major factors contributing to this surge in mental health issues among young people?
As we can be aware, there's so many factors. I've been working with so many youth around Kampala and around the globe. But most of the time you see that surely there is increase of mental illness in mostly the youth. Ranging from age of 15 to 28 and 30 and 35. Most of this is more of course, the increased substance use that is common. If I give you little statistics, about 70.1% of the youth between 15 to 28 and 35 years in Kampala, around the suburbs of Kisenyi and around, abuse substances. Yes, they use drugs, they use alcohol, they use different types of substances, but also most of the contributing factor include more of the economic factor, which is the increased unemployment among the youth. But not leaving aside the fact that the youth are becoming vulnerable. They are marrying at young age. A 20-year-old is going to marry, 15-year-old or 18-year-old is going to marry. So they are marrying at younger age. So they are finding a lot of financial complications and problems.
And also marriage, it has its own set of problems and challenges.
Exactly. So meaning these are all contributing factors. But also there is a lot of the violence in homes. Parenting is a key. Parenting, where most of these youth are coming from families where they have not actually seen their parents. If they have seen their parents, hope we are not among those that are contributing, because their parents leave home very early. They go back very late. So children are indulging into dubious activities like watching films, other behaviors like they are on TikTok, WhatsApp. So meaning they are actually taken away. They are driven away by different form of issues that are contributing to such.
Okay, so my takeaway from that is that parents are too busy, and I put this in quotes. Parents are too busy, and because of this, children are being parented by other sources like TV, the social media, and the content they're taking from there is affecting them negatively.
I mean, they're watching on televisions, they're watching people who are smoking drugs.
And it seems fun.
Yeah. It seems fun to them because these are youth learning. Not only that, they are watching people who are indulging to different activities like clubbing, and for them they think this is the trend. And then they are being parented by, of course, the nuns. The parents, we don't have time as we parents.
The gadgets are
parenting. The child is on this phone all the time. The dad is on the phone all the time. The mother is on the phone all the time.
How about the youth that come from, you did mention some of the areas. For instance, you have a rehabilitation project for the ghetto youth. I think that the challenges these youth are facing are different from the challenges maybe the youth at Makerere University, Chambogo, and other higher levels of institution are facing. So first of all, let's have a look at the challenges that could be precipitating mental illness among the youth in the ghetto.
Yeah, this is actually a different category, and I want to really echo and thank the President of Uganda, Republic of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, for actually coming up with such programs that also the ghetto youth have to be reached. I mean, why? This is a different now class of people. These are youth that left their homes. They don't have where to sleep. They are staying in ghetto areas. They don't have even food. So what do? Most of the time, they're involving into substance use. They're involving into sexual activities as a trade. They're involving into stealing and criminal gangs, and also hitting people, iron bars. So they are going through a lot of challenges down there. So you find that this category is different from this category at university, and I'll try to classify a bit of that.
Yes.
If you moved around the suburbs of Kampala, you move around Kisenyi, move around Katanga, move around Katwe, actually you'll find a lot of youth who are redundant. They don't have what to do. They don't know what is next.
And the Bible says that an idle mind is the devil's workshop.
Yeah. Yes. So what is next is to plan and hit you at night for you who came to work here, who came to get some, they say, etoke. For you who came to say toke, Baganda say etoke, kaogo.
Yes.
So they will target you. For them now they are sleeping and they are down, covered up. So for them, they start to work in the evening hours. They start to work at night.
And because they don't have jobs, they assume that for us or anyone else that earns a living in one way or another has more.
Exactly.
And they're entitled to that.
And then what is next? They're full of distress. They're full of, they are depressed. They don't know what is next. They left their homes. And then others are orphans, typical orphans. Actually, they even don't know where their parents are. Some of these are street children who were born on streets. by the fellow youth who were substance users,
abandoned
on the streets. Some of them were brought by their parents from different areas all over the country, and then they were brought here in Kampala or other areas. Go to Mbarara, go to the cities like Jinja, go to Uganda and other cities like Mbare, you go to Kalamoja, go to Kasese. You'll find these youth in urban areas, and they have formed up different ghettos. So in these different ghettos, they have actually started different activities like substance use, ganging and raping, hitting people with iron bars, that is contributing to a lot of mental related disorders in our country.
Okay. Now, Mr. Bikombi, let's now look at university students, because there is a report I looked at recently that indicated that more and more youth in universities and other higher levels of learning, but also in secondary schools, are abusing drugs. What could be the trigger for these students? Why, for instance, would a senior 4, 5, 6 student choose to partake in drugs? And then those at university, what specific challenges are driving them to this?
Yes, this is a very hot one, and it is affecting, actually, it is a time bomb. It's a surge in all universities and high schools. Because if you went to most of the youth I am managing in the treatment center, and also if you went to Butabika Hospital, as echoed by the elect of recent in Monitor, most of actually these youth have gotten mental related disorders due to substance use. If you come to university, if you come to high school, most of this one is peer influence. They are learning from others. And if you went to international schools, I'm sorry, it might be worse, because we're having different youth from different countries that actually, maybe in their countries, drugs have been regulated. Drugs like marijuana, taking alcohol is okay. But also, we have issues like coping, modeling. Some of these youth in senior 3, senior 2, senior 6, they see others, when they see these musicians, when they see someone composing a nice song, they have a myth that this person is good because of smoking drug. This person is composing a nice music, is jumping all over the stage because he's high. That's a myth.
Probably, do you think it could be because sometimes when we watch the music videos by these artists, they're showing you that the smoking, it is fun. It's fun, and it makes you fancy. So do you think this is wrong messaging that is being put out there, and it is negatively affecting our youth?
Very wrong message, and I discourage it, because if you went like these songs, youth like a lot of these hip hops.
Yes.
Snoop Dogg.
Yes.
The guys sing yup yo
Kendrick
as
Lamar.
smoking, and you see that smoke going up, so the youth is like, wow, this is nice. I wish I can be like Snoop Dogg. In actual sense, this guy is just acting. It's not a real cigarette. But because he's singing while smoking a big joint, so the youth is like, wow, I wish I can also smoke such big joint and be a good composer. Leave that aside. What is mostly also leading to this youth use of substances is, of course, I will take you through the distress and the home environment, where they come from. Sometimes these youth come from home, these children come from home when they are distressed. They have gone through a lot at home. They have gone through violence. Some of our homes, our parents are substance users already. They're alcoholics, they're substance users. So they tend to really, take these youth through a lot of hardcore. So when they reach at school, they want to calm down. But also, they feel like when you start using substances, you are going to pass highly. They have that that when you use a substance, you're going to read a lot at night. Because, we look at grading in Uganda. People look at grades. People look at A's. How many A's did my child get? So this child will look at this one who is getting A, is overreading, so he will also take drugs to say that he will be awake all the night, which is not a reality.
Okay. That's now a different perspective, because I actually thought that sometimes because they are too stressed, they take some of these substances to calm down.
You see, youth have come up with a lot of different versions in substance use. Some of them take because they want to stay awake all the night to read. I mean, we used to call it winter. So they are deceived by others that when you take such drugs like maybe this drug, Cuba, you sneak it in, you take alcohol, you're going to be awake the whole night and you're going to read. This is not true under reality. Why? Because you're going to read beyond lines. Why? Because addiction, when someone takes any substance, it alters the normal functioning of the brain.
Yes.
So what are you going to read? And then what are you going to interpret and analyze?
Okay. Help us understand the effect on substances like drugs, like alcohol, on one's brain, especially the youth, because according to science, the frontal lobe is not developed, fully developed until someone is 25. Now, majority of them young people that are abusing these drugs are below the age of 25. So help us understand what effect substances would have on a brain that is not yet fully formed.
Yes, I wanted to little bit echo on the university youth, but before we come back that side, the drugs themselves, if someone takes a drug is something that alters the functioning, the normal functioning of the brain. If taken in, remember, we have the drug that are medicinal drugs, and we have the psychoactive substances or drugs. So when someone takes in the psychoactive substances, they alter the normal functioning of the brain. So if this brain is still young, and someone puts in a substance like marijuana, like alcohol, cocaine, and most of these substances that are around the suburbs and towns of Kampala, it affects directly the brain. Why? They have small fatty soluble that penetrate through the what we call the blood-brain barrier. You know, so than other things like, you see, like blood does not go to the brain, but drugs and other psychoactive substances have small fat-soluble molecules that penetrate through, you know, the blood-brain barrier. So if the brain is still young and someone starts smoking, taking alcohol and marijuana at the age of 13, age of 15, age of 7, 10, and 20, it's very risky. Why? Because this brain is going to receive these substances, and these substances are going to alter the normal functioning and the growth of the billion neurotransmitters that are responsible for sight,
for thinking,
judging, for judging,
yes,
you know, for even movement, which is the motor nerve. So literally meaning the brain is going to be dysfunctioned.
So you're risking being retarded.
You're risking being retarded. Thank you. So meaning this person will be in class at a certain age, and actually there is also risk of getting demented at early age.
Is that why sometimes you see a student that was high flying, a student, and the parents are like, we don't know what happened to him, and he doesn't seem to be successful at anything at a very young age, and yet this was a very brilliant student at one point. Why?
Because as you said, drugs first affect the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe is responsible for decision making and thinking, this forebrain. But the most important and respectable part of the brain that drugs really affected is the limbic system, that behind brain, which is a reward enforcement center. Why? If someone takes this substance, and this limbic system consists of all the major parts of the brain, you know, that are responsible for sight, for movement, for walking, for thinking, and language. So meaning if someone started drugs at that stage, it's even the memory is going to be affected. So what will affect here? The learning disability. Someone used to get A when he starts drugs. Actually, these are some of the signs that parents should look out for. When someone was performing very well, reach at university, they are going to start performing badly.
And you wonder, I had an A student,
you know,
and sometimes you on the surface the parents may not see it.
They may not see it.
Okay.
So there will be decline in performance, academic performance, but also continuous decline in behavior, behavior activities. Why? Because the substance or this drug has affected the center responsible for behavior activation. Someone will start going for, you know, for different activities. Someone will become aggressive. Someone will become angry over small things. Someone will start abusing the parents. heading away.
And then we blame that on
shying
being
away,
teenagers.
And then we blame that as being teenager. Wow. Literally, what do I want to echo to Ugandans listening in there? Let's be very keen to our children. Let's be very keen to the youth, because we are in a very dangerous situation at the moment.
Well, I'm speaking to Grace Bikumbi, who is a clinical psychologist and also an addiction specialist who works with Butabika Hospital. Do you have any questions? Please echo to us on WhatsApp number 0709-602-592. We are looking at the effects of drugs and substance abuse among the youth. Yes, mental health awareness is very pertinent, and we cannot have these conversations enough. Now, Mr. Bikumbi, before we go to the next question, you had wanted to say something about university students.
Yes, this is very crucial, and as we are doing this awareness, I want to let parents know that in most cases, we have mentored and modeled our children to what they want to be. From high school, primary, you take your child, very happy. Secondary, you take your child, very happy. Now university, this is free time. You've been locking this child in the gate all the time. You don't want him to move out. This child has been coming from school to boarding, from boarding back home, locked up in the gate, doesn't even know the neighbors around. Challenge come at university level. What is there? It is time, free time. Most of the university students say this is our time now. So what do? They want to explore. They want to find out. And they're going to find other friends who are going to switch them into. You go around these universities in Kampala. I always say Kampala, I actually thank the president that actually put a little bit of this narcotic law bill. And I wish we can also put the alcoholic. Kampala is like a club at night. I don't know if you've ever moved around Kampala. Kampala is literally a night bar. It's a night bar. If you moved at night, you don't ask me, Grace, where are you going at night? Maybe I was on research.
Well, the night economy is booming, and it adds to the economics of the country.
Times when I walk around Kampala at night, it's like a small club. Okay. Because everyone is drinking, almost. People are dancing, people are drinking. And mostly, if you go to these bars around, unfortunately, these are university students, most of them. These are students from homes. Dad is home, mom is home, busy looking for tuition. This university student is busy in the club. He's busy in the bar. He's busy smoking shisha. I wish you moved around. There are different drugs that they have introduced. And no wonder many actually losing their lives. And people think this is poisoning. No! I want to tell you that most of these university students, I want to tell you they're involving into a lot of activities at night. They are moving in bars to bar. Someone is from this bar to the other bar and using what? The pocket money you gave. And then they are drinking and smoking, and they're being introduced to different drugs that they didn't know. For them, they think this is a time for exploring. So we have to be very, very keen and bring more awareness on that.
Okay. Well, a recent report by one of the dailies did indicate that narcotic drugs get into different university gates through drug dealers called plugs. Now, narcotic drugs are those which, when taken, relieve pain, dull the senses, and make one get into a stupor. Although a number of these substances have medicinal benefits, people tend to abuse them and use them for non-medicinal purposes. Now, here is the catch. Plugs are either weed growers or middlemen in the lucrative drug business, and this is according to some of the sources that they talked to during research on this report. Now, Doctor, let's look at something. There are other reports that indicate that Butabika Hospital in particular, but even many more rehabilitation centers have majority youths as their patients, right?
Yes.
However, I've also had another debate people are saying that sometimes people go to these rehabilitation centers to get help, but come out worse. Why is this?
Yes, this is a nice one. People go to rehabilitation centers to get help, but come out worse.
Yes.
It's a tricky one.
And hooked on other types of drugs that they weren't hooked on before they went to the rehabilitation center.
Why? It's like saying that people go to prisons and come out worse.
Yes.
But what is the main reason why you take this person to prison?
To be rehabilitated. Yes.
You come to rehabilitation center. I wouldn't say that surely it is very true that people come up worse, but possibly maybe. It's just like how we go to school and we've gone to learn, but there are these other characters that will teach your child different manners, you know? So, but also this means depends on an individual. If you went to this treatment center, is it having specialized people? Because we have so many mushroom treatment centers anyway. I wouldn't say which one and which one, but I mean, are they having specialized people in managing addiction? Are they having specialized packaged messages? Because the way how you package this message to this young one, that's the way you will take it. I'll give you an example. You tell this young one that addiction is a relapsing disease and you're going to relapse. Typically, he will know this is just, I'm going to be relapsing every time. So even if I'm here, I'm going to come back. But also maybe there are these ones who might teach others. I can't really say it's not true or true, but for the 16 years I've worked in Iptavika, I think I have most of the success stories that most of these have come into treatment, they've been rehabilitated, and they've gone back sober. Why? Because they've had a professional touch. They've seen psychiatrists, they've seen clinical psychologists, social workers, nurses, and then their treatment has been packaged and they've been helped to change their cognitive thinking. What can I say here? It's all about mindset. So if someone goes into a treatment center and think, okay, me, I'm going to do this, trust me, we work towards changing that mindset. Yeah.
Okay. Well, according to this report, the most common type of drugs that are sold among students include marijuana, commonly called weed, but we also have tobacco, we have meth, derivative from the parent amphetamine, which the National Institute on Drug Abuse describes as a powerful, highly addictive stimulant that affects the central nervous system. Now, other types of drugs include codeine, which is medication usually given to relieve pain or suppress cough, but which can be abused and used as a narcotic drug, cocaine and ecstasy. Now, honestly speaking, there are some drugs I never even thought were in the country.
No, they're there.
I'm looking at meth, I'm looking at ecstasy, I'm looking at cocaine. I will still ask, it feels like I will be repeating myself, but let me ask again. Some of these drugs seem a bit extensive. What would be, for instance, for a person addicted to cocaine or ecstasy or meth, what would be the dire effects of these drugs on someone using them?
These drugs have
mentally and physically.
These drugs have different effects depending on of course, the amount taken in and the time taken in. But as I would say, different drugs affect different people. I mean, affect people differently.
Okay.
For example, some people take marijuana, just in a day or two they are off, you know, and people take drugs like meth. It is a lot by the way around Kampala. Most of these drugs you've mentioned are in Kampala here.
Wow.
And the youth are using them. And you know, the challenge is, before I tell you the different effects, is some of these drugs, apart from alcohol and weed, they don't actually give, you can't know someone has used. You see someone walking in, is high. It's not having any scent, like you can feel it, but maybe you just see the behaviors. Someone is rude, someone is banging the table, someone is banging the desk, you know. So we need really to be very keen on that. So what are some of these effects? If you went to drugs like marijuana, it would directly affect the brain. Why? Because it's a stimulant. It causes someone to become euphoric, you know, gives you that hyper manic mood that you can even jump from a high building and fall down.
Because suddenly you feel like you're Superman.
No, it's exactly, but also the most scientific thing is your judgment has been impaired.
Okay.
You know, you think just jumping is near here. I'm just going to jump from here down this upper floor and go down here. It's short. So 2 is you'll find the people, one of the effects of drugs like marijuana, you find someone sleeping on a daughter. You find someone sleeping on a relative because the judgment is impaired. Alcohol itself, you take alcohol in higher doses, it is a depressant, makes you low. But in low dosages, it is a stimulant. What will happen? Looking for skirts all over, sexual activities, you know, in bars, you walk here, go there, but also impairs the judgment. Violence in homes is part of the contributing factor.
If you drive, you'll cause accidents.
You'll cause accidents. But if you look at drugs like cocaine, which is also very common in here, its effects is also very dangerous, and we have also the injecting drug users, people who inject themselves with pethidine, mostly in people inject with heroin and cocaine. How they affect is mostly the economic, apart from the physical, because these drugs are very expensive, and someone would want to buy them every minute. Why? Because the body is addicted. The body has got used to the use of substance.
I heard of an incident of a daughter who took her father's VX to Kisenyi and sold it spare part by spare part to buy drugs.
Exactly.
Wow. I have some views coming in through Grace, and this one says, good morning, Madam Presenter. Thanks so much for hosting my brother, my OB, Bikumbi Grace. I love the program. He says he's called Basalira Moses Iyomo. He's your OB. And moving on, this one says, good morning, UBC. My name is Gerald Muhumuza Tibasimwa, aspiring chairman, LC5 Rokongeri District. I normally try to make sure to listen to this Good Morning Uganda because of its educative programs on this issue of mental health. It is surely becoming an urgent matter we should address. Youth are becoming mad because of drugs. Substances they take. Partly it is caused by the circumstances they go through, for example, unemployment, which makes them lose hope. Thank you, Dr. Grace Bikumbi, for this timely educative discussion. And this is from Gerald Muhumuza from Rokongeri District. Now, the next comment comes in from Praise Atwine, who says, thank you so much, Doctor. Is there any positive effect of such drugs on the health of the youth? I think you should answer that before I share the others.
What can, if I answer that one, is there any positive effect? What can I tell you that drugs are both positive and negative?
I think he's trying to ask, okay, if I take them but in moderation, will I be okay?
Yeah, sure. What I would say is it is either positive or negative. How can I say this? It depends on the, what the user wants to achieve.
If it's medicinal?
Yes. No, if someone, because every individual who starts using substances have a desired effect who she wants to achieve.
What would I want to achieve?
So for you want to achieve to go and steal, that is your positive.
To get that false confidence.
That false confidence.
Okay.
But in actual sense, it is negative. Okay? So, but I literally say that any person who starts taking, someone will say, no, I want to take alcohol to sleep. Surely you're going to take this alcohol and you're going to have sleep. But is that normal sleep? Because that is your positive anyway. But is that normal sleep?
No, it's not.
It's not.
You'd rather change your diet, exercise a bit, and then your sleep
I am going to take
improve.
this substance to forget problems. That is your positive. In actual sense, is it positive?
When you wake up with the problems,
oh my God, it's just prolonging the problems.
Yes.
You wake up for a short period of time, you think of the problem. So what can I answer you is, when everyone starts using substances, they have desired effect they want to achieve, either positive, but in most times, it turns to be negative.
Negative. Thank you so much. Now, I've seen something here. One of the drugs that the youths abuse is taken in the form of pills, and among them, the prescription painkiller Tramadol, which people irregularly buy over the counter in an apparent collusion between clients and some pharmacies. Now, I know Tramadol. When ladies have just been given birth, when they're taken off the high ones like morphine, they're normally given tramadol. And it even has effects. For instance, personally, I react to it. So people do not even consider some of the reactions you might have to these medicines. They just take. So what would be the dire effect of taking a drug like tramadol, and especially for people that could be allergic to it?
Most people are getting addicted to most of these drugs. Why? They're painkillers. And I want to warn you, I want to warn the fellow Ugandans who go to pharmacy and just get drugs which are not prescribed by the medical practitioner or the doctor, that you are putting yourself in a very deep world. Why? These drugs, as you mentioned them, they're opiates. These are opiates. What are opiates? These are class A drugs. When we say they are class A drugs, they are highly addictive. That it must be prescribed by a medical practitioner for a short period of time. Then, as you said, if a lady is going for in the labor ward, because even amputation, when the doctor is in a theater and doing amputation, they can't, work on you lively. They have to put painkillers, so your hand is maybe, worked on, and because these are strong painkillers and opiates, but they are highly addictive. So I want to warn the fellow Ugandans, if you have any pain, don't go for stronger painkillers. Don't go for tramadol. Don't go for pethidine.
Without a prescription.
Don't go for these sleeping pills like diazepam. They are highly addictive. Don't go for heroin or morphine. Even morphine, it can only be given in palliative care for patients with cancer, for patients with strong illnesses and have pain. But for you who is a normal person and having a less pain, kindly go see a medical practitioner, get prescription, and the drugs are given in a shorter period of time, and then they're put off. So I warn you, don't go for, these are highly addictive drugs, and I don't want to hide this. It is actually very common now in us, the health and medical practitioners, because very many doctors, very many clinicians, and we are getting used to this, because when you introduce it yourself, it is like, the first dose you give yourself will push you to addiction.
Okay. So, now, the last question I'll ask, many are coming through, but our time is fast spent. The last question that will be your parting shot. Someone is asking, is it true that bipolar disorder is due to someone being extremely bright, or it can also be due to drug use? This is from Annette from Chigomba in Chiriandongo district.
Yes, Annette, thank you for this question. That question, bipolar disorder is it what?
He asked, is it because someone is extremely brilliant, or because someone is depending on drugs?
Yes, Annette, not true that bipolar is for someone extremely brilliant. These are some of the myths that I want to remove from some of us, and that's why we're here. Most of these diseases like bipolar, we are going to that angle, but fine. Briefly. Bipolar is a it is two. It's either depression or mania. Someone is having two phases. Someone is one time so much depressed, at one point so hyperactive. Depressed, hyperactive. So that's why I call bipolar affective disorder. The etiological factors are many. It can be biological, if there is family history of bipolar, or if there may be relatives suffered from bipolar. But also it can be due to environmental factors like stress. From depression, someone is distressed, then gets bipolar, or it can be from other, but also it can be due to substance use.
Well, Doctor, I think we will have to actually get you here another time, so that now we delve into those other different, because there is schizophrenia, there is bipolar, there is ADHD, and many others that we may need to understand. But for now, thank you so much. This has been quite educative. And like I said in the beginning, we cannot talk about mental health enough. Our youth are struggling, and this is also contributing to the increased cases of suicide that we are witnessing among young people. So we will continue to have these conversations. Thank you so much,
thank you,
Dr. Grace.
Thank you, and thank you, Ugandans. Thank you for listening in. We are here. We shall keep giving you different awareness campaigns about mental illness and myth about mental illness. I thank you, and thank you, UBC. Thank you, the management, for hosting us here. Let's keep it up for a better Uganda and a solid Uganda. Mental health is wealth.
Mental health is wealth. Thank you so much for watching Good Morning Uganda. And Good Morning Uganda sports updates coming up next with Ruben Pima Chividango.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.